In this short video we're going to look at how to change the microcontroller device, or PIC, for an upgraded version which carries the software for DM2. The things you're going to need are a Phillips screwdriver and a flat blade screwdriver, and of course the upgraded microcontroller. First thing we need to do is to remove this plexiglass rear panel, which is held in place by 4 Phillips screws. So let's just remove these. That's 3, and the final one. And we'll just put this plexiglass rear panel to the side for a moment. Let's put it safely out of the way for a few seconds. Now, the microcontroller device itself is this long 28-pin DIL device. That stands for dual inline. That's the name of the package device here. To actually remove it, we're going to have to remove this wider IC here. And the best way of doing that is to just get a small flat blade screwdriver and gently pry under one side, not all the way out, otherwise it'll start to bend the legs. So it's best to remove it by prying it slightly at one side and then slightly at the other side, and maybe just repeat this procedure a couple of times so that it comes out with the legs nice and straight. So we'll put this device over to the side as well for a moment. We can now see there's another actual chip under here, but the device we want to change is this 28-pin device. This is the microcontroller that holds all the software. Again, we'll just pry it slightly at one side, rotate it around, and with our flat blade screwdriver we'll pry it slightly at the other side, and we'll just keep repeating this until the device comes out. So that's the microcontroller. We're then going to take the replacement one. Now, these microcontroller devices have to go in the correct way round. There's a little notch on one end, and the notch has to point towards the top of the board. So be sure that this notch points towards that smaller chip here. We'll line up the pins. By the way, sometimes these devices have the legs splayed out, so we can straighten them if necessary by just holding them down to a flat surface and bending them like that to make sure that they're pointing vertically down. Now, you have to be sure when you put this new device in that all the legs line up. Be careful that they're not one position over to one side, and be careful that all the pins go nicely into the sockets without bending. And then when we're happy with it, just push it very gently into position. It might be worth just putting your thumb under the board to stop it from flexing, and be sure that all the pins go nicely into the socket. And just have a final check around to make sure that all the pins have gone home, none of them are bent, and none of them are overlapping the side, anything like that. We'll then replace this chip that we took out from here. Again, they have to go in the correct way. The notch has to point towards the top of the board, so let's put this back in. Also making sure that the pins all line up correctly. And that's it. We've put our upgraded microcontroller into the board. The only thing that remains to do now, of course, is to replace this plexiglass rear panel. Put it into position, and with our Phillips screwdriver replace all 4 of those Phillips screws. And that's all there is to installing the upgraded microcontroller onto your DM2.